It's MRTI Radio. I'm Rob. Let's meet Tommy Stinson.
You got stuck in the wrong side, peeking through the rusty keyhole, just looking for a place to hide. And God's message is tongue-tied, lullabies he sings of suicide. You hear him when you're dissing the slide. And I might change my mind, I might change my clothes, I might change my life. I don't know, anything could happen. 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 Tonight's stuck in the real time, making up for times you couldn't buy. Is it really when you make up your mind? The hand out in the past tense, the flowing across the cemetery fence. Now you hear 'em crying up at the distance. I might change my mind, I might change my clothes, I might change my life. So I'm told anything could happen. 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 Baby, don't lay me down to rest in Minnesota. Honey, just lay me down in Nola. What's up, Dave? I might change my mind, I might change my clothes, I might change this night. So I'm told anything could happen. 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 Anything could
That's Anything Can Happen from Bash and Pop. And to prove anything can happen, we get a legend like Tommy Stinson coming into our small town of Fredericton for a one-night-only appearance this coming Tuesday evening at the CAP. MRTI Radio is with Tommy Stinson now. Tommy, welcome for starters. And
Thank you.
and a chance for you to kind of hit some places you've never probably played before as a solo artist. That seems to be what seems to be going on here. Is that the case? Trying to cut some new ground?
Yeah, I feels like I've played pretty much everywhere you can until someone says, "You ever been to Fredericton?" And it's like, well, no. Let's give it a shot.
This tour, it is a solo Tommy Stinson show. So are you drawing from your solo career, or do you dive back into the Matt stuff a little bit? Is it more focused on Cowboys and the Campfire, which you are kind of doing more of these days?
It's a little of all my solo endeavors. I don't do any replacement. That's only because I didn't sing I wasn't a singer for the replacement. So that's
right.
That's why I wouldn't do any of that stuff. But yeah, I do all stuff from my Bash and Pop records, my solo records, a few bits from my new Cowboys and the Campfire record. I threw a little bit of all that in there to make it fun and exciting, man.
And you've always enjoyed kind of taking it off grid a little bit and playing some some places that weren't necessarily traditional kind of venues. You kind of have a history of doing that, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so much out there that I have not seen as an artist, and I like the feeling of going somewhere new, and who doesn't? I guess really
Yeah.
like to go somewhere new, and and find different things. And a lot of my curiosity is about a particular place. I like to check out different things. Like if there's a certain food or a certain thing about a town, there's something special about it. I'll give you, for instance, we were in Dayton, Ohio last week, the Cowboys and the Campfire. And someone said, well, if you guys are going to Akron, you should stop in Waldo and get yourself a proper, fried bologna sandwich. And we were like, well, of course we should stop in Waldo and get a fried bologna sandwich. So we did it.
And they were
so
right.
I'm of that mindset where I'm kind of an adventurer with, new towns and stuff.
Well, here's a tip. When you're coming to the Maritimes, try a donair.
A donair?
A donair.
Do tell.
It's
a donair.
It's a
sounds French.
I don't know what the origin of it is, but I believe like the Maritimes are the only places, like you go anywhere and ask for a donair outside of the Maritimes and they look at you like you got four heads. But it's a spiced beef that is on a spit, and it's sliced off in little shavings, like a thin slices, and it's wrapped up in a pita bread with a special sweet donair sauce, is what they call it, and it's delicious.
Wow. Okay.
You got to try one.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you're hitting Halifax and Fredericton, so you got to try a donair in either one of those spots.
Thanks for the hot tip, man. I'll be on it.
The Wronger record just came out from Cowboys and the Campfires. Man, you've put out a lot of records in your life. Is it still fun to go through that process? Is it still like, how do you pump yourself up to make a new record? Like, when you've done so many already.
Yeah, I got the bug.
Yeah.
Simply put, I've got the bug in me at a very early age, and it doesn't go away once you have it.
Yeah.
And it could be, for some of it's a good thing. For some of us, it's not such a good thing. But for me, it's been a good thing. And I'll give you an instance as well. And this is like, I just did this tour, this little quick run with the Cowboys and the Campfire, and we were really having a good time. And we started working on songs, new stuff in a hotel room. Because our upright bass player can't drag his bass from, all over the place. So we go to his room and mess around with some new stuff. I haven't done that in ages. So, we're messing around with new stuff while we're on the road. And to the point of yesterday, I get here to Halifax, and I'm talking to my buddy Chip, who's my guitar player in Cowboys and the Campfire. And he's sitting there playing his guitar. He's got this guitar part, based on this song that we were working on in Ohio in a hotel room. And he's got the bug. So, I mean, it kind of works like that. He's inspired. I'm inspired. It's the whole thing. And I've been lucky enough to be able to follow that, my whole life. And, I still get that. I still, I wake up, I got a guitar sitting there. I'll sit and monkey around and come up with something, and it turns into a song magically.
Stupid ain't you stupid, stupid ain't you kind. Sanity won't know you in this light. Broken hearts to both start a fire. They just fall apart together one last time. Ain't got too many reasons to have turned us upside down. I'm looking for the app to show us where we're bound to fall apart together one last time. It seems to me we don't see eye to eye for long. It seems to me we're dancing cheek to cheek, only when the tables turn just right. We faded out, no one seems to see that I love you from a whisper to a stream. As we fall apart together, we'll just fall apart forever. One last time, we'll just fall apart together. One last time, one last time, one last time. One last time.
When you say you've been at this a long time, you aren't kidding. You started like when you were just a kid, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I started playing shows and clubs at like 12, 13 years old.
What an education you had. Not your stereotypical education, probably, but a very strong education just the same. That's almost like that journeyman musician kind of thing. You're kind of almost like the last of a breed that's done that since a very young age, like into their 50s. You know, you've been at it for 40 years now, plus.
Well, it beats sitting on your ass.
For sure.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not
getting moldy. Yeah.
Out.
Tell us about when you first started out. Now, I know Bob was the one that kind of got you first playing the bass, correct?
Yeah. He got me monkeying around with it, at an early age, and decided to show me how to play it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really into it so much at first, but after a few bribes from the corner store, Coke here, a candy bar there, I was in. It was that simple. Like he kept me playing. He kept me fortified with sweets, and I was into it. So
he spoke your language. Yeah,
exactly.
Tell us about some of those early records that, like, where you got into music at such an early age. And I know another guy who's very influential throughout your life would be your first manager, Peter Jesperson. He got you initiated to a lot of music you might not have heard otherwise. He's that kind of individual, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of those early records that you just that still you love throwing on today? Those classic tracks that you still like 40, 45 years later?
Well, there are many, because he worked at a record store called Orpho Chocopus. And I basically, I would skip school, and he wasn't really into me skipping school and hanging out at the record store, but I'd skip school once in a while and go watch soap operas with those guys in the record store and listen to all the latest stuff that came out. And I think one of the, some of the earlier stuff that he turned me on to that still sticks with me is like, Captain Beefheart's Dock at the Radar Station.
Yeah.
That record influenced me greatly as a kid. And, he turned me on to all the stuff that I probably listen to now, from Bob Dylan to, The Clash to the Hollies. I mean, Kate Bush. I mean, he just all over the place. And for the most part, it was a little bit of everything short of jazz. I didn't get the jazz bug until sort of, early 20s. Paul kind of got me into the jazz thing, as he'd gotten into it somehow from somebody. When you're young like that, and you learn at such an early age, you're just a sponge for whatever's cool and whatever's out there. And I've been fortunate like that, where I grew up listening to, all kinds of different stuff, and got to take it in.
The Replacements have left such an indelible mark on so many fans. Do you get tired of talking about the Replacements when people ask you about them? Like I'm probably going to here for a little bit, or is it something that you're at peace with now?
Oh, I'm totally at peace with it. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have had a legacy like that people want to talk about. Mm-hmm. That's the good news of it all.
When was it the best? When was that period of the band? When was it like it has a history of having moments of dysfunction? But when was it all going right? When was the best time for the band? When was the best period in your opinion?
Right now. Yeah.
There must be
Right
those
now,
moments, though. There's
period.
got to be those moments. I'll be heartbroken if I don't hear that there was a moment or two that you said, "Wow, this is as good as it gets," or "This is pretty damn close."
Yeah, there were definitely good periods and bad periods. I won't lie about that. But as far as when everything seemed to be really moving in a great way, there was a lot of that interspersed with the bad stuff. I mean,
Okay.
throughout. Yeah, there wasn't any one like, wow, this is the greatest period we had or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't recall any time that were the case. Because it would it could go so drastically bad from having a great high just to the darkest low right immediately
Right.
after. Yes, I don't really recall like a good long stretch of that anyway.
Well, one of my favorite or periods for the band, which probably, curiously enough, would probably be one of the rougher periods for the band. My favorite album of all time is "Pleased to Meet Me," without
Right.
question. But that's a real a time in the band where you went down to a 3-piece. Paul had to step up, and he did miraculously. He did amazing work as the main guitarist on that album. I thought he was doing great work with that. The songs were so good, and the production. Jim Dixon seemed to have a feel for how to work with the band, maybe better than a lot of producers did.
Yeah, totally, because he'd worked with that kind of dysfunction before, and that for the record you're pointing out, that might be probably one of my favorites too, for all the reasons you pointed out. Tim was a really rough record for us to make because of things going on with my brother, and the things going on between my brother and Paul. It was just a really, really super hard time, and so Pleased to Meet Me was, after we'd made the decision to go on without Bob. Kind of hunker down as, 3 compadres. And we learned and grew a lot from each other right at that moment. What helped, what a lot of people don't know, and I'll tell you this right now because you asked, a lot of what made that record work, Paul was getting into a lot of open tune guitar playing stuff where you can play the chords and a melody at the same time, basically, sort of in a Keith Richards kind of way.
Yes, I was going to say,
a lot of that. So he was able to hold down the melody and the rhythm at the same time, which is a very cool, interesting, way of doing things. And Keith Richards has been the king of that forever.
Yes,
and so, us kind of being a 3-piece, we really it made us stronger, and as a band, the 3 of us tight together like that. I think it really did a lot to cement us into, what would be the next 5 years, 6 years after that.
And Jim Dixon, like he seemed to balance the chaos with the brilliance of the band, and just walk that fine line just perfectly.
Yeah, he was able to manage the insanity a little bit. He'd done it before.
And you also recorded in a bit of a change of scenery for the band too. Went down to Memphis, right? So that would have its own sort of magic in its own.
That would
right?
have its own whole thing to it. Exactly. Good, bad, and ugly, as they say.
Standing right on campus, would it
Do you see maybe you and Paul going out on the road ever again? Will that ever happen, or has that thing been put to bed now, do you think?
From what I'm told, and I haven't spoken to him in a while. From what I understand, he's retired.
Okay.
I don't know that he's going. I don't think he's going back into the music anytime, or maybe he's making it play. I'm not sure, but I don't see us doing that again. I do not at this point.
Yeah, but no regrets at this point either, probably, right?
No. I got plenty of stuff to do,
right.
and I'm doing fine. I don't need to do it, but I mean, I'd never say never. If it came up, he felt like doing it, I'd have to think about it seriously. But at this point, I don't see any need for it.
My only time seeing the band was towards the end of the band. I caught the Montreal show on the All Shook Down tour, and I got a chance to meet Slim at that show. That was interesting enough. I did dotted my I's and crossed my T's with the record company, and I worked out an interview time with Paul Westerberg. And when I got up there, we drove through an ice storm. It was like 9 hours of on the road. It was just February Canadian winter weather, and we got there, and the press. The Warner press person said, Paul's done 2 interviews already, and he doesn't want to do any more. So Slim came out, but you know, I knew enough about the band to know that if Paul didn't want to do an interview, it's best to not try to force the issue. If he doesn't want to talk, he's probably not good. And I would have been devastated if I would have had a bad experience. So and I had a great experience talking to Slim. He was a great man. Cool. He was a super guy. And very inviting. Can I ask on his condition right now? He's in long-term hospice care, basically. Yes. Oh man.
Yeah, he had the major stroke, and he never came back from that. Right. And he did just move. Him and his wife just moved into a much better place than they were living before. Mm-hmm. It's much better. It's much more conducive to their life at the moment, the way they're living, and all that. And I heard she's real happy with things, so that's great.
Tommy, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Look, I really appreciate you spending some time with us today, and look forward to that Tuesday night show. Yeah, I can't wait. Like I say, I've been a fan of yours. It seems like I've been following your career for forever, and it's going to be a pleasure to see you on one of our stages in our city. It's going to be my distinct pleasure.
Nice. Well, you have a great day, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.